Hey guys, Jeff here at Matt Kite.
And Tucker.
And we're here to talk about two boards that are new for 2026, I believe. We've got the Flowcraft and the Glide.
Glide craft. So we got the Flow and the Glide. They're both crafts because they go on the water.
Yeah, and that's a
makes sense.
That's they've kept that word in their lineup before, but yeah. I've been able to get out and ride both these boards. Actually, no, I've not been able to ride this one yet. I have ridden this one. But.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Slingshot kind of go back to the drawing board, come at it with a modern approach to their boards. Because if we're being honest, some of their older stuff was a little chicken nuggety, slow, chunky.
Yeah, I think this is...
it's okay. It was for what it was. You know, it's great stuff, but kind of a more sleek, surfy approach, I think, on these boards, and that's a welcome addition in my mind anyway.
Yeah, I think it's where we're starting to see some of the board designs tend to, with the designs that we're going to talk about, and we break these down here in a minute. I will say right out of the gate, I do like the white. You know, I just think it looks clean, looks like a surfboard, especially when we're looking at the Flow here. Another thing when I think of Slingshot, you know, over the years, bomb-proof.
Yeah, they've been overbuilt a lot.
Yeah, they're very built, very robust. But when I picked up this one, I think it'd be good to start with this board. Sure. I was, right out of the gate, I was like, wow, this thing is light.
Yeah, yeah.
For its size and for, you know, not to stereotype Slingshot as being, they do. They make, you know, they do a lot of their testing. Their headquarters are in Hood River. Conditions are raging. And this board, I mean, it was like very light, you know, so it to me, you know, that leads into like a higher performance board.
Yep.
You know, so let's talk a little bit about this board.
Yeah, so in talking to their designers and what they've done in the construction here, EPS core, just kind of par for the course as far as production boards go. What they've done here is they've combined a carbon lamination with a new matting technology. And what that does, it just allows you to build up your laminate a bit more, make it a bit thicker, which can increase the rigidity and, you know, your durability. You go to squeeze this thing, you can't really squeeze it. It's real stiff. Yep. There's carbon in it, which makes it stiff and light, but having a bit more pile to it, a bit more thickness in the lamination, keeps it from being an eggshell, keeps it, you know, a bit more insulated, we'll say, from impact. And then that, you know, they can come out with a lighter board that's also stronger.
Lighter.
So they've done a great job on the layup. It will increase your price a little bit this year, so that's the downside, the trade-away, or the trade-off for that.
We like to call those trade-offs.
Trade-offs,
right?
I like that.
A trade-off, and I think a trade-off too. You know, this is a side note, you know, you either love or are indifferent maybe about the colors and their schemes, but, you know, we talked before the video, this is a higher end board, going to cost a little bit more. Yeah. I'll speak to the performance in a moment. I feel it did perform quite well for a higher end board, but it would have been nice to maybe have a little of that carbon in here to let the customer know that they are getting a very, besides what they
if we're
paid
being
for
honest,
it.
You see this on the shelf next to the shiny carbon boards. It looks, you know, a bit more basic. And it depends on your aesthetic. I do like the visibility. If you're in conditions where you need that visibility, Hood River, for instance, you don't want to get run over by a barge.
This thing sticks out.
It's visible.
Yep.
You got a big old yield sign on there.
Yeah.
And then the white on the deck, you know, it's great for keeping the sun off the board, keeping it cool. It's also a blank canvas if you want to do any stickers or any of your own graphics, things that make the board more yours and custom. And then these nice stripes here are a cool visual appeal, but they also give you a nice reference for that sweet spot when you're kneeling on these boards, which is generally right about in here. Is that where you found too, Jeff?
Yep.
Yeah. So right in here, you know, this is your kind of gauge. Yeah. You know, some foils or some people might want a little forward, some more be a little bit more back, but it gives you that easy visual reference on the board.
Are you talking about the foil for the foil mount?
I'm talking when you're kneeling.
I was going to say I'm a side saddle guy, so I kind of come on and do my own thing. So.
Yeah, or with your feet. You know, if you're going into rip some surfy turns, you have a quick visual reference as to where your feet are, and after you ride it a little bit, you'll find, you know, oh, I really like, you know, my heel to be kind of in line here or here, with the tip of the S or whatever it might be. Having those visual cues can be a nice quick reference when you're getting going. And I do like the look of the top of the board. Even without the carbon reveal, it's a quality looking, sharp looking board. It's not an obnoxious NASCAR paint job, on the top of the board. But then when the board is upside down or sideways, you've got that nice, hey, don't run me over, stop sign look for that. So it's functional, I suppose. Maybe not quite as pretty as the carbon reveal could be, but I dig the utility of it anyway.
Yeah, so the dimension of this board that we have as a demo is a 5'9" by 21 1/8 by 4 3/5, and it's a 75 liter.
Yep.
I think that's kind of a money spot for a board of this design for most riders. Myself, if I was going to use this as a maybe one board, I would probably, 75 would probably be a good spot for me to go. Maybe the next size down for more powered up. I think that's something I noticed when I rode this board. I got a chance to ride this board 2 weeks ago, and I found that the board is a solid board. In fact, that the design made me think that it had a lot of board speed, but I found it to be maybe lacking a little bit in getting up to speed when I was trying to take off initially. Again, it could be the newness of being on this board and riding this board, but just my first impression when I got on it, I was expecting maybe it to release a little quicker than it did. But once I did release from the water and get up and riding, that's where I was like, wow, I have not been on a slingshot board in a while. And I was like, it felt very, like, I wouldn't say it disappeared under you. I like to use that word when I ride, but when I feel like a board just feels like it's not giving you feedback, but it feels like you can control it and maneuver it and begin riding where it just feels like you're one with the board. I did feel that with this board. I was like, the weighting of it, the length of it and the width of it was perfect. I was able to go right out, and this is how I like to test myself on a new board. I'll go right out and do a heel side tack. Right around, and if I feel balanced on it, feel maneuverable, I feel like I could feel the foil, feel connected to it. I nailed it right out of the gate. Again, this is just my thing I like to do to test a new board. I was like, wow, it felt very good. It felt, like I said, the weight and the distribution. I put the foil where I normally do, just front of center by maybe like a centimeter.
Kind of right under your back foot.
Yep, just a little bit up, and I was like, I like this board.
Feels pretty good.
So initially, I was going more because of the longer shape. This is where a lot of board designs are going, more of that a little bit longer, narrower, thinner profile. But I felt that once I was up, I was like, I dig this board. I could see this board being good, powered up, riding, kind of a variety of wind conditions and wave conditions. The day I rode, there wasn't big waves, but I was able to pump around on it and ride some small little waves. And for boards that I've been on this size, I was like, nice job. I really was impressed with how it felt up and riding. Maybe we can break down a little bit the bottom of this board and maybe why initially it didn't get up maybe as fast as other boards of this shape.
So the takeaway from this for me is this. This board isn't designed to ride in light wind. Let's just get that out there.
They call it the flow.
You can size up on it and ride decently in light wind, but it's not built for that. This board is built for powered shredding, riding waves, riding smaller foils. This is not a beginner board. This isn't a board you're going to choose as your light wind board. So that's out of the way. We know, it can do some of that if you know what you're doing, but it's not ideal for that. So some things in the design that make it not good for that, but good for powered
trade-off.
Trade-off.
Yep.
We have a whole nose here. The rails are relatively hard, pretty far up front here. That rolled hull comes all the way through the middle. We got a flat spot that starts about midway through the board here, and that's maybe 8 or 9 inches wide, and that continues all the way out the tail. So this isn't following the rail line, this is following the center line. It's almost a straight, flat section. And then that makes these wide chines that start to break off the hole right about midsection and get more defined through the tail. Those are going to start to release the water, have less drag on the water as those start to come off and build speed, so that it's got a very smooth, clean lift off, and you can build a lot of speed while you're on the water. That's assuming you have power in your wing. So what I would say about this design is it's really, like I said, built for shredding. What you want from that is you want a board that can build speed on the water and create more lift-off speed before you're off the water. You need that for the smaller, faster foils. They have to go faster to lift off.
Yep. Need
If
more
you have a
real
board
estate.
that's too slow and a foil needs to go this fast to lift off, you're gonna have a really hard time getting on foil because you need to get the board off the water before you can accelerate to that speed. Doesn't work too well. So having a board like this, assuming you have the power to reach those speeds, is going to allow you to reach those speeds on the water and have less suction at liftoff. It's going to lift off almost automatically because you can imagine the water just sheds off
Displacing it
here,
off, sure.
comes right off these hard edges. And then when you're touching back down, kind of the same situation applies. You want the board to hit the water and skip off. You don't want it to hit and stick. You're getting a little bit of that with these hard rails starting up here. It's a little bit tracky.
That's what I experienced when any touchdowns I made, very smooth. I mean,
Just like a skipping stone,
yeah.
man.
It didn't
that.
It didn't grip, and I think where that's going to come into play is when you are riding waves and you're carving and maneuvering. If this board does touch down, it's not going to stick. It's going to pop right up.
Yep.
And I think what you just said too about this bottom design, the wind did pick up, and when I was more properly powered, because when I first went out, I wasn't. Once I was properly powered, it popped right up, and it got what I needed with the speed to get it going. So
If you're running moderate wind, size up your wing. Or get a little bigger foil because the board itself isn't going to create a lot of planability.
Efficiency at
slow
lighter
speed.
winds at slower speed.
It wants to go fast. It wants to have
Yes.
powered
It wants-
riding.
That's the big, I like how you said that. It needs that power to get up to speed fast. It's not going to generate its own power with lighter wind. So,
You
anyways,
can imagine if you're slogging with how round this board is, every time you put weight on the board, it's just going to spit water out the side. It's not going to want to clap off and plane up. It's just squirting water out the sides, which is good on touchdowns. It's bad if you're trying to plane up and build speed when you don't have enough power. Dimensionally, I think they nailed it with this board.
Agree.
I love the thinner dimension. I love the 21 1/8 thickness or width. 5.9 is great. It's long enough to be efficient and have more board to touch down with in those critical sections, but it's also not so long that it's cumbersome. I like the deck shape, just that slight concave.
It's very slight.
Really flat in the middle section so you feel neutral when you're in the middle. One nitpick I would say is you got a board that's 21 1/8 wide, so you have this real estate where you can really leverage your bigger foils, but the traction pad
little bit
ends,
wider.
you know, it's maybe 19.5 inches of usable space because of the traction pad. So I really wish they would have brought the traction pad all the way to the edge. Give you a little bit of ding resistance, number one, but
and
also
that back
protect
foot.
Mr. Side Saddle here in
There
the
you go.
shins.
My shins, my
But
knees.
give you more to stand on there, because as soon as your feet start to grip on that edge, it's going to feel like you're on the edge of the board when you're really not. Use the whole deck.
Yeah,
Use the whole deck.
I would
people.
agree with you though. The size, I think it's spot on for the 75 liters to have it be 5.9 by just over 21. You know, with all the boards that we get to ride and the different shapes and sizes, very, very well done by Slingshot on that aspect.
Great connection to the foil. It's a
Yes,
good
I was just gonna
combination
say
of
that.
width
So-
and thickness, so you have great control. A little bit more volume in the nose, a little bit of a foil in the nose, so it swings through the wind nice and clean.
So
It's
when
a
I
good
wrote
board.
it, when I wrote it and the wind picked up, you know, I really felt like this board was not going to hold me back. What I mean by that is sometimes when you get over in the longer shape boards, you know, it can be a mental thing too, but you're thinking, oh, is this board going to start to feel big or get blown around? You know, I generally like to size down when I'm in those more powered conditions, but this board felt very smooth on the underfoot. And I would agree with you. I felt myself finding a really sweet spot on the board pretty quickly with my stance. It felt You know, I felt like connected to the foil, like I said before. The board and the foil worked well together. And I think what kind of, you know, I let 2 other guys that I was out riding with test the board because they saw the board and they're like, first of all, they said, I like the white. I like the look of this board. Yeah. And so I traded off on the water with 2 other riders, local guys, and they both got on it and they were smiling. They're like, oh, I like this board. You know, like a lot of what I've said already is what they liked about it. It just felt for its size. It felt like it had good high performance, good speed, good balance. It, you know, enough real estate, you know, to move your feet around and do all you needed to do. Yeah. And just felt like a good size. So 2 of the guys, that was right out of the gate. You know, we all 3 of us got to ride it, and then I got to ride on other boards at the same time, which is kind of nice when you're on this board in the same conditions and you drop down to something else. Yeah. And I was finding myself, this board, you know, was money. It felt really good, you know, underfoot. So I think they did a really nice job with the board. The word flow, I get it now that we've kind of dove into more of its construction and shape. You know, because like I said, when I first saw this board, I thought, oh, this could be a 1-board quiver, light wind, do everything. You know, maybe more glide name in it, but now I see why it's the flow, and it makes sense.
It does, yeah. It's surfy, it's flowy, you know, it goes with the flow, so to speak. If you mess up, touch down a little bit, it just comes right back up. If you're cruising back out, upwinding, and you hit the top of a wave and it grazes your board, it's just going to keep going with momentum. It's not going to, you know, put the brakes on or send you flying off.
So before we put this board up, talk about this other one. Who's this for? I think you touched on it already a little bit. I do think this would not be a beginner board.
Yeah, intermediate plus.
Intermediate plus for sure. I think it would be a board that if you're in an area with generally pretty good winds, 15 knots plus, this could be your 1-board quiver. You could grab
prone. Parrowing, I would say it's probably not ideal because of what we talked about the board speed. If you want to ride this parrowing, you're going to want to size up a bit. Sizing recommendations wise, I would say don't be afraid to size up. A lot of times I'm on 50, 60 liter boards. I'm pretty happy on a 70 liter in this model because of how we talked about the dimensions. It's not too thick. Yep. You know, this nice foiled nose, it swings through the wind really clean. It doesn't feel as long as it is. So having a bit more board under your feet can really help you in those situations, you know, where you're hitting some foam and you come down and you're looking to recover. If you don't have enough nose out there, you're just going to spear it and go down. If you have a little bit more board under your feet, it's going to carry you through some of those sections. So for me, I would say, you know, don't be afraid to size up 5 to 10 liters on this board.
Totally agree. And that's been the feedback we've been getting too from local riders. Some of our guys have been chasing smaller boards, smaller liters. With these newer designs, like the one we're talking about in front of us right here, you don't need to drop to that same low liters to get the performance.
It's light, it's agile, you're just going to get narrower, and then you're not going to be able to leverage your bigger foils.
For sure. All right, board 2.
Número 2. This is going to look fairly similar, just a little chunkier. What we have here is our Glide Craft. So this is their new beginner, intermediate board, maybe even beyond that if we're talking freestyle. This could be a cool freestyle machine in the smaller volumes. Very similar to what we saw with the Flowcraft. The whole concept is really borrowed from that, just in a more compact, little wider, thicker, more beginner friendly kind of a setup.
Yeah, what are the dimensions on this? Well,
just
hit the dimensions on that. We got a 5.4 by 24, so we do have extra width to this, a little narrower. And it's 4 3/4, so it's still
a little thicker. It is 80 liters versus 70 liters.
This is the 80 liter, but
so there's that 5 inches shorter at 10 liters more. Mm-hmm. So you're getting a bit more volume there to keep you at the surface, but also making it quite a bit narrower than the previous years and a little longer to help with that board speed. And really, where foils are nowadays, they're built more for efficiency. You don't have these big, thick, low aspect foils anymore that just want to get you on foil immediately. You want something with more length, a bit more speed on the water, and really just makes them easier to ride, in my opinion. You don't want to be riding a beach ball. You want something that has a bit more length and user friendliness with regard to your sweet spot.
Yeah, I have not. You've been able to ride this board. I haven't. So what'd you feel?
It's good, yeah. For an 80 liter, it feels nimble. It feels a lot more fun to ride than their previous fat boards.
With the bigger noses they had on them.
Yeah, you're more in touch with the foil because of the thinner design, the narrower waist. You just have more room to maneuver. But they're also easier to ride and less corky, we'll say, because that length really gives you the ability to kind of be a little bit in the wrong place, and there's enough board there to support that.
Especially as you go up to a higher aspect foil, that added length's going to help you out from submarining, keeping giving that foil its time it needs to get up on foil.
Yeah, so say you learn on this with a big old foil, then you upgrade to something a little faster, you can keep the same board. Whereas a lot of the early chicken nugget boards, it's not really going to be a thing. You know, your foil is going to be faster than your board wants, and your board's going to be too slow to get you on foil with the high aspect stuff.
It looks like we have some similar design on the bottom here of the other
Same
board.
deal. Yep.
A little bit of the same.
Pull into those fatter flat section here, right here. Again, it's following the center line in a straight, not the rail line like you typically see. So this board is very smooth in the liftoff. It has clean touchdowns, which is nice when you're learning. You're doing a lot of touching down, you're doing some breaching and collapsing, and it's easier to ride out with momentum when the board doesn't throw on the brakes. The downside of this, again, is this isn't a light wind board. You know, it can do its thing, especially in a bigger size, but it's not going to be the ideal craft because it doesn't have that big fat flat section to plane that board up and keep it at the surface. It's going to want to sink a little deeper every time you put weight on it, which is totally okay. But if you're looking to ride light wind, this probably isn't the right craft for you. And I think that's okay because new riders really shouldn't be trying to ride in super light winds anyway. It's just going to get frustrating. So I think
that lends a good question. Who is this board for? I think I've heard you say, and I would agree with you based on the shape and similar boards I've ridden like this, somewhat similar.
Yeah.
This is kind of treading in a newer direction with the, we used to call them chicken nugget boards, but you know, we're a learning board. So I would agree, beginners could use this board to learn and grow in.
Yeah, totally.
Grow with. So it's a board you don't necessarily have to just learn on and be, you know, and use when you're learning and then get rid of and get a new board. You can grow with this board. So I would agree with that for sure. How about someone who's been riding for a while? Where do you see, like, what style of riding or what kind of riding? More freestyle, free ride board?
Yeah, I would say freestyle for sure in the smaller sizes. You know, it's a bit more compact, so you can flip it, you can spin it, do that thing, but it's also not so big and cumbersome, you know, that it can't be used for that. So free ride, freestyle, I think is a great way to put it. For some riders that are still in that kind of beginner intermediate stage, waves as well.
Yeah.
This is a fully capable wave board. It's not quite as good, you know, for an experienced rider as, say, the Flowcraft, but still totally usable. Coming to the deck here, you can see it's still got that cockpit design. You've still got some strap options, obviously, for your freestyle guys or people that just want those for security. Coming to the nose, we still got a little bit of a dome here. Just a bit more truncated, a bit more blunt than we get with the Flowcraft. So still very much a mid-length inspired board, but
with a little bit
packing
more,
a bit more volume per size.
Yep, for a little more stability and ease of when you're just getting in the sport or you're budding intermediate. You still want that stability and platform. That if you move your feet a little off, it's not going to completely destroy your forward progress of momentum of what you're doing. So very good, very good. I think we covered each of them very well. I love the design, the white, kind of that goes back to kind of classic board look, you know, a white board, surf looking board. And, you know, I'm looking forward to giving this board a try as well. These have just been in the shop here, what, a couple weeks, if that? Been light
just
wind
had
here
time to get out a few times with them.
Yeah.
One cool additional detail on both the boards we have here is a little extra traction piece here up on the nose. That's going to keep the board from getting all scratched up on the nose or getting dinged on the nose in the parking lot when you're assembling it. So that's a nice little touch. I also feel it's nice to kind of hang on to, you know, especially on the smaller ones. You know, if you got your wing up here and you're balancing in the waves, having one hand up here on the nose can help kind of balance.
Keep your hand in spot.
Yeah, give you another leg, a tripod, so to speak, to balance off of in those messy conditions. So this is a nice little touch. I mean, I think every board brand should do this, but
Agreed.
It just helps protect that nose and keep it from getting all scratched up, because we're all flipping our boards upside down in the parking lot and wrenching on them.
Wrenching to get working on.
And you got a brand new board after 2 sessions. It looks like you took a Velociraptor claw on the thing
Happens
or
quick.
something.
Happens quick. So these boards come as is, just the board, no straps. Although you've added some because
Yeah, we added these for Skip the other day because he wanted to do some jumping, so we set him up on the Tucker signature package there.
Exactly. But it comes, either of these you can put straps in either of these boards. We suggest though, when you're just getting into the sport, no straps, then you can add them as you go.
Yeah, and that's an important difference too
preference.
here, maybe to touch on. This one has a center line pack of strap options, and this one here is a bit closer to the center line. So that again just reflects the smaller foils you'll be using on this one, the narrower width. This one here, we actually have a double bolt pack in the center that are offset. So you could run a V strap with 2 singles. You're not going to have a center post to do a V strap. You're going to need 2 single straps in the front. And again, that's just, they're anticipating you're riding bigger foil. You want a little wider offset, and then that gives you the opportunity to run 2 single straps at that offset. Rather than having to share that center line when really you don't want to be that close to the center.
Good.
So that's nice. It also makes this board a little lighter in that area where it's not needed, and this one just has that option to run more straps on the front. So
Perfect. We got the Glide, and then we got the Flowcraft.
Flowcraft.
I think we covered them pretty well. Was there anything else we wanted to dive into on this?
I think that's kind of it for me. They're great step forward. I think leveling up the performance. Downside, you are paying a little higher price for the leveled up construction, so that's something to be aware of. But I think that's just a general trend in the industry right now, given the increased cost of materials, the fact that we're building to a higher quality than we were back in the day. And of course, you get like tariffs and things like that add to those costs. So it's a quality board, great price, like you'd expect from Slingshot.
Yeah, and I would say that it's the price. The performance does kind of match it in some elements. The lightness of it and the ride. I look forward to riding this board. If you guys have any questions or thoughts on what board would be for you, what size, give us a call back here at the shop. Send us an email, send us a chat. We'd be more than happy to help you out. Enjoy the stoke.